Something I've been hearing from a lot of the paintballers lately, they've been really concerned that airsoft is starting to take over the marketplace. I find this really kind of odd because in my mind, the two games are pretty interchangeable. I mean, a lot of people I know that play airsoft also play paintball, so this leads me to a question. What is it that airsoft brings to the table that paintball simply cannot deliver? And in thinking about this, I've already eliminated a whole bunch of things. Things like the mil-sim look, because you can achieve the same look in airsoft that you can in paintball, so that's off the table. And the gameplay styles, they're fairly similar. When you look at videos of both games, it's kind of hard to tell the difference. No, I actually think it comes down to one thing. Firepower. In order to explain this, I need to go way out into left field, put on a tinfoil hat, and talk a little bit about history. So stick with me, there's a payoff. Let's start with paintball history. A lot of paintball history, at least as far as paintball guns have been concerned, has been concerning firepower. I need to carry more paint, I need to carry more air, I need to shoot more people, I need to shoot more paint because that's the effective strategy. And unfortunately it kind of has been, and this is the going out into left field part of the show. You can dictate the style of play of any given game based solely on the terrain you're playing on. Best example I can think of this is arena football versus NFL football. By shrinking down the size of the field, you've created an environment, well, with a couple other minor changes, but you've created an environment which encourages high-scoring games, which is exactly what they wanted to do. So what exactly has paintball done? Paintball has shrunk the field size down, they've reduced the number of bunkers on any given field. When I look back at photos from the 90s, I look at stuff like the Knoxville Indoor, where they had a 5-on-5 tournament using an entire rodeo arena. That same space would hold 3, maybe 4 modern 5-man fields. So realistically, the only effective strategy is to shoot lots of paint, lock down lanes, create your own cover because there's just not enough around you. And to break into the tinfoil territory, I don't think the powers that be want to change this at all. I think that they think in their minds, this is how they're making their money, by making lots of paint sales, selling different guns every year. That's kind of conspiracy theory-ish, and I have no proof of that, but it's just a feeling. But the only flaw in this, and this is where airsoft starts to really come into its own on this, is the cost of the ammunition. Around where I am, a case of paint is anywhere from $50 to $100, depending on where you go. You can buy a case of 2,000 BBs, 2,000 airsoft BBs, about $6. Not to mention the airsoft guns, they hold how many rounds inside that little magazine clip, and they go for the entire time. But this ties into the one real draw that airsoft has going for it. It's fun to shoot a gun. And it's fun to shoot lots of ammunition out of a gun. Now, let's say you went down to a shooting range and somebody said, hey, I got a .22 pistol here on the table, I got a Tommy gun on the table, they're both fully loaded up, you can choose which one you want to shoot. Most people would probably end up shooting the Tommy gun because shooting lots of rounds very quickly doesn't take a lot of skill, and it gives you a sense of empowerment because I'm throwing lots of rounds down range and I'm doing this, even though it's pretty much the technology in your hands that's actually doing it. Somewhere along the way, paintball figured this out, which is why they've really stylized the game to emphasize and almost require high firepower. And now that airsoft has got it figured out, they're feeling threatened. But here's my take on this. Let's go back to the gun range example. Let's say you were to bring something to a gun range and say, hey, I got a Tommy gun fully loaded with ammunition, I've got a 50 caliber sniper rifle fully loaded with ammunition, I'll let you shoot one of those guns. Which one would you choose? See, now I'm going to make some of you guys think about this because it's two different styles of gun, two different styles of shooting, and one takes a heck of a lot of skill in order to hit something at range. And I think this is where paintball can really come into its own. What we need to do is we need to create a sport element of the game which highlights the skill of the user, not just the technology they're holding in their hands. On my gaming live stream, I've talked a couple times about this, about how we can make paintball a really interesting, really cool sporting format, but I'm not going to share it with the masses, only because I know what will happen. Somebody will try to run with it and do it badly. Because I think the major flaw in all this is that we've been so reliant on firepower, we've been so reliant on shooting more paint faster by carrying more paint on us, that we've really lost sight of the fact that we could create a game, a sport, that can highlight skill. And as much as it's going to sound like a dig on it, you can just go play airsoft instead. I mean, if you want to shoot a couple thousand rounds in a day and just go have fun, by all means, go ahead. You cannot convince me that it's more tactical to be shooting 3,000 rounds in a day than it is to actually go like stomp around in the woods. That's just my opinion anyway.